The trial of 3 Toronto police officers accused of sexually assaulting a female parking enforcement officer is entering its final stage. Now, one of the accused took the stand in his own defense last week. A second declined, and a third today also declined. But there was one final witness on the stand today before closing arguments began, a veteran police officer, a detective, who was out partying with the group that night. The very last witness in the trial of Constables Leslie Niznik, Samir Kara and Josh Cabarro took the stand today. And it seems Detective Barry Radford had a bad feeling about that night as he sat in a cab with the complainant and 2 officers on the way to the brass rail. When you get men and women in a place like the brass rail, we all know what happens, he testified. I didn't want to be witness to anything and end up where I am sitting right here. In my mind, it was a recipe for disaster. The veteran detective testified no one seemed inebriated beyond control, but he struck up a conversation with the cab driver so he wouldn't have to listen to the sexual innuendo going on in the back seat, and he left shortly after arriving at the strip club. The Crown challenged the detective, questioning why he didn't put a stop to what was unfolding. Crown, you're thinking this is a recipe for disaster. Your spidey senses are tingling. You knew no good would come of this. You don't say to these officers this is not going to end well? Radford, you can't tell adults what to do and what not to do. I felt uncomfortable. I made my conscious decision. The Crown also asked the detective how a senior investigator could leave details of the night out of his original statement, hinting at the thin blue line. Crown, you didn't want anything to do with this investigation, did you? Radford, that's not true. After the witness, the defense started final submissions to Justice Anne Malloy, getting straight to the argument about consent and whether the complainant was able to give it. She could, argued Alan Gold, who stated, mere drunkenness, even severe drunkenness, is not incapacity. A drunken consent is still a valid consent. Gold referenced the video of the complainant arriving at the hotel, saying it shows she had capacity, unlike the video of Kara, he says, who clearly needed assistance. Now, defense lawyer Gold also pointed out what he called inconsistencies between what the complainant testified on the stand and statements that she had given earlier to police. For example, pointing out that in her statements she had said she had 7 drinks. She testified that she had 8. He also said on the stand for the first time she said that she had choked on her own vomit later that morning, and also that she was afraid of police. Now, closing arguments will continue tomorrow, as well as arguments from the defense that the case should be stayed because vital video that could exonerate the 3 officers was never obtained by investigators.